I mean, I hung around a lot at Wagner's, and so I knew a lot of those guys from down there, and the people around Carl is just utterly amazing. And I can tell you one Carl story that I went down there, and it was in the winter, and I just go down and see Carl. So I go down there, and we're hanging around, and he goes, "Hey, we're going to go to the PRI show." I'm like, okay, I don't even know what a PRI show is, and it's like, and it's like, okay, so he said, we're going to leave in about an hour, so, okay. So we load up in the Suburban, and Dan, Tim, and the rest of the guys, and I knew them all, and heck, I stayed a bunch of nights at Carl's house, and then I stayed with Dan a bunch of nights. There's a guy that doesn't sleep. I've met people, I didn't sleep, but I had to drink Mountain Dew and whatever I could stay awake. But he's one of those guys that just didn't sleep. I mean, he could live on 2 hours, 3 hours sleep and get up, look fresh as the day before. I'm like, I don't know how you do it, dude. But anyway, so we load up the Suburban. We're heading, and I don't even know where the PRI show is. So we're driving.
I'm sure you didn't come there with clothes.
Oh, I had no clothes, Yeah, that was the norm, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I went somewhere, and it's just like, well, when we get there, we're going to look for the merchandise shop and, get a T-shirt at least, and stop at a gas station, get another toothbrush and some toothpaste. So, a lot of hotels had them back then. So
yeah,
I'm sure I stunk along the way somewhere. But yeah, so we're in the Suburban, we're heading there, and then this was a decision late at night. So so then I realized we're going to Indianapolis. So we get to Indianapolis, and Carl's like, yeah, well, we're going to get something to eat. It's like, all right, that sounds great. I haven't eaten anything, So then he's like, and there's this big bar. We're going to go to this big bar. It's like, okay. So we go in this big bar, and it was huge. I don't know, they had a bunch of dance floors and whatever. And we're going along, and I'm like, where are those guys, And it was a big place. I couldn't find them, I should be able to find one of them, And after a while, I realized they ain't there. So I walked out to where they parked the Suburban. Suburban's gone. You got to be kidding me. I'm in Indianapolis at this bar. I don't even know where Carl's staying. And I'm like, after a few drinks and being tired, he forgot he brought me down there. So they just went to the hotel. So I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I'm like, I don't even know where I'm going to go. So I'm like, all right. So I was have another drink, close this place up and see what happens, And so I'm sitting at the bar, and this guy comes up next to me and orders a drink. I look over, he's got a race shirt on, and I'm like, is it you a racer? He goes, yeah. He goes, oh, where are you from? He goes, Wisconsin. I'm like, Wisconsin? He goes, where are you from? I said, Wisconsin. And he was Jerry Radetsky. He'd Champ oil pans, and he built the oil pans for Carl. And so I started laughing. And I was like, yeah, I rode down here with Carl, and he left me here. I don't even know where I'm staying. He's laughing. That sounds like Carl. He goes, well, you can stay with me tonight, and we'll find Carl at the show tomorrow, So we go back. So I'm riding with Jerry, So I'm going to sleep on the floor in his room, And it's like, we get to the hotel, and I walk in, and there's Mike, one of Carl's guys, and he's sitting in the bar, and I'm like, thanks for leaving me, He's like, oh, we forgot you were with us. And then we're like, Carl's like, I'm too tired to go back and get him. But anyway, it worked out well in the end. But yeah, them were some of the adventures with Carl. Everything was always an adventure with Carl. So
yeah, definitely. I haven't heard a bad story yet about Carl Wegner.
No. My dad warned me never to ride with him. And I made the mistake once of riding with him. I think it was Scott Hansen was coming, or maybe it was Rich Bickle. Somebody was coming to get a motor, and I worked a lot down there. I was mainly working to get a motor, I didn't have any much money. And Carl, he had a I don't know, it was a 55 or 57 Chevy, and of course it had a Wagner, built engine, it'd go like heck. And he told, I think it was Hansen. He says, "I'll give you to the end of the driveway. We're going to go eat lunch." He said, "I'll give you a head start to the end of the driveway, but the loser's buying everybody's lunch." Well, there's a bunch of Wagner's guys, and and Scott had a couple of guys, and So he got to the end of the driveway, and then Carl lit that Chevy up, and I'm like, we're roaring down the driveway, and he's a little two-lane road he lives on. I'm like, are we going to slow down to turn? Nope. You drop two wheels down into the ditch. We drop down in there. We launch up onto the road, slid across into the. He hasn't let off the gas yet, and back up on the road. And we passed him before we got a half a mile down the road. I'm just like, you're out of your mind. Oh my gosh, that is crazy.
Yeah, I think there's a couple days, I can't remember what they were. I know one was his, or maybe it was just his birthday, but I remember when Father Gruba was here talking, he said, you never ride with Carl on his birthday because he had a lot of bad luck on his birthday. So, yeah.